let's say $2,000 is the number. Do you have an argument whether it should be less or more?
I mean, my baseline is 0.
Like, okay, wow. Oh, you're dug in.
Fully against it, yes. If everyone gets $2,000 a month, the $2,000 a month becomes the new base. It essentially becomes the new 0. If people think that $9 ketchup is expensive today and the people earning the least money get the most affected, what's going to happen when you start injecting that amount of cash into the system?
So $400,000 mortgage is $2,000 a month. Now, if everybody used their $2,000 a month to pay down their average mortgage, you're going to have a hard time convincing me it's not a great universal benefit. The problem is when people go, well, wait a minute, we have a $400,000 mortgage and we have this $4,000 a month coming in. Why don't we get an $800,000 mortgage? It should just not improve your lifestyle. If everybody could look at it as just a way to support the current lifestyle you're at, then I think the application could be amazing.
Do you think it'll exacerbate or reduce wealth inequality?
It would probably increase it because I would bet.
Welcome to The Wealthy Lender, episode 11. I'm here with Chris Nichilo, founder of Magnetic Capital Group, Canada's premier private mortgage administration firm. And today we'll be talking about how UBI will affect or could affect Canadian lenders and borrowers.
Yeah, it's episode 11. I didn't realize we were episode 11 already.
Yep, already 11.
UBI, UBI, universal baseline income. That's what we're talking about. And it is, I mean, you sent me down this rabbit hole a few weeks ago, asking me what I felt about this, just so everybody understands how we got here. And if you recall, I told you I don't know anything about it. Like I had not really heard of it. I hadn't looked into it, nothing. But I started to look at the conversation that's happening online. And what I learned is, it's really simple. The contemplation is, should every Canadian over the age of, I believe it's 17,
Yes.
should every Canadian over the age of 17 be handed $2,000 a month, just as a universal baseline income? And so the first thing that I looked at when I started to get familiar with this guy, when I read that, I was like, wow, my head wanted to explode. There's so much to unpack there. Like, if the question is, should every Canadian who's 17 years old or more get $2,000 a month handed to them by the government, I have so many questions. So rather, and I went down a whole bunch of different rabbit holes to kind of just see what people were saying, and it seemed like everybody had the same questions. And to narrow it down for the purposes of something like this, so we can have a conversation, the way I want to do this is to actually have a conversation with you as if we are trying to build this UBI and we're trying to create it, but create it so that it works, so that it gets the desired results. Because as much as I can see benefits to this, I can also see how it goes way off the rails.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? Like this could be bad. And listen, maybe we have to do a follow-up episode of this, because it's only just before the episode, just before we're recording, that I realized we have this great example that I might want to go and look at in depth, and that's CERB that happened during COVID, right? Yep. And I'd love to educate myself more about, looking back, what the results were, and would the government do that again? Would they do it differently? And so, listen, it's the first time they've done it, and I'm sure there's lots of learnings. But if we distill this down, okay, because this is a giant topic. If we kind of distill this down, the first question we should try to attack really is, okay, well, forget the number 2,000 for a second. How much should it be? Right? Like, if you're going to give everybody a certain amount of money every month, how much should it be? And so I don't know about you, but my first knee-jerk thinking goes to the lowest income earner. Right. So my math brain goes, okay, well, how much does a minimum wage earner full-time earn? And minimum wage, I think, is $15. I'm not mistaken. Something around that.
Bit more, a bit less, depending on the province. But yeah, we could say 15.
So say $15 and 40 hours a week. It's about $600 a week times, call it on average 4 weeks in a month, 2,400 less a little bit of taxes, you're at 2,000. Maybe that's how they got to $2,000, right? But so, okay, let's say $2,000 is the number. Do you have an argument whether it should be less or more? Or like, or do you have more questions?
I mean, my baseline is 0.
Like, okay, wow. Oh, you're dug in.
Fully against it. Yes.
Okay. So that's good. So I want to hear about this. Okay. Do you want to, before we go any further then, because you have a stance here, do you want to just like lay it out? I want to hear it.
Okay. So my stance is, if everyone gets $2,000 a month, then the $2,000 a month becomes the new base. It essentially becomes the new 0, right? Because everyone's like getting an additional $2,000 a month. And I mean, with inflation being it's literally been a headline topic for the past, well, since COVID pretty much, or since CERB, like since people started spending again.
Yeah.
I don't know, if people think that $9 ketchup is expensive today, and the people most affected are the lower income earners, every time the minimum wage goes up, prices go up, and the people earning the least money get the most affected. What's going to happen when you start injecting, that amount of cash into the system? And I understand that it's replacing what we're already spending on other social programs. I get that. Will it be net? Like, would it be some kind of balanced budget? Some people have calculated that it won't be. Some people have calculated that it will actually be a surplus. The difference here is that if it's $2,000 in everyone's pocket, chances are it'll be spent more, because everyone's like literally going to be using that money. Like,
But
right.
the question is on what? What's it being spent on?
I mean, take your pick.
I mean, look at this. Consider this, okay? Because I love that you're squarely in the corner of don't do it. Because the third, when I started, I was like, there's three things to unpack here today. How much, who should get it, and how does it get abused? And I think based on what you're saying, dude, this is going to get abused. Like, this is not going to work the way it's intended, no matter how you roll it out. And I got to say, that was in my head too. Like, I thought about that too. Is that kind of is that where
I don't know that it could get abused, because abuse implies that you're kind of, whenever there's a program for social aid, you've got to qualify to be in the group that receives the aid, right?
Yeah.
It's never been universal, but this time it is. So how can there be abuse if everyone gets it? The only abuse is
because
how everyone's on the receiving end of rising prices, I think.
Okay, but when you give a universal benefit, this is great. So when you give a universal benefit, I think you just hit on the difference between a social program and a universal benefit. A universal benefit puts the onus on the people to behave in a fashion universally that will produce a good result, a positive result. And so abuse, by that definition, in this case, would be too many people spend the money on stuff they shouldn't spend the money on. Like, for example, what happens when interest rates come down? Now, when interest rate, because I see everything out of the lens of a mortgage, okay? So when I watch behavior of people, when interest rates come way down, if I asked you, what should you do in that time? Should you borrow more because interest rates are low? Or should you hammer the principal of your debts to make headway because less of those dollars have to go to interest?
In the context of mortgages, from what I've noticed anecdotally, and also, with, I guess, some level of research, it's borrow more, refinance the house, get a boat, get vacations, fill in the blank. In some cases, investment vehicles like additional properties, but there is a wealth effect that happens where access equity in my house at 2%, go.
Yes. And when things turn, when interest rates go up, guess who are the people complaining?
Over leveraged.
Correct. So that is not the right behavior. Like, if we give everybody $2,000 a month, you know what most people should do? Look, the average mortgage is around $400,000. That's the average, okay, in Canada.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It sounds low, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of places in
there's a
Canada
lot
where
of
mortgages are
yeah.
okay, are not Toronto and Vancouver.
And some of them got it, 15 years ago, and that made sense then. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but just the reality is that the average property is not the values you're used to seeing in Toronto or Vancouver. Most places in Canada is still affordable. Average mortgage 400,000 at an average interest rate when things are kind of normal, you're hovering around 5%. It's not crazy. Okay. You're looking at about $500 per $100,000 borrowed per year to service that mortgage. $500 a month per $100,000 you borrow. So $400,000 mortgage is $2,000 a month. Now, if everybody used their $2,000 a month to pay down their average mortgage, right, to pay the mortgage payment, and if you had two income earners in one family, you could then theoretically pay your mortgage payment, which has a principal contribution, and then dump $2,000 a month onto the mortgage. And if everybody did that, well, now we have like a very great. You're gonna have a hard time convincing me it's not a great universal benefit if everybody behaved that way. Because we're building equity, you're converting that benefit into equity.
Yeah.
Which can be bought, traded, sold, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Leveraged.
But you're also, so any dual income household has an extra $4,000 a month. That's way more potential buyers that now qualify to buy a house, and our housing price problem gets exacerbated a little bit. So now you're needing an even bigger down payment.
It's easier
and then
to
you're
save
back
a
to
big
zero.
down payment. That's right. It's easier to save a down payment. It's easier to service a mortgage. But the problem is when people go, well, wait a minute. We have a $400,000 mortgage, and we have this $4,000 a month coming in. Why don't we get an $800,000 mortgage? Well, right? You just eliminated the benefit of the benefit. And now we're just becoming a more leveraged society.
My point with the pricing was that by virtue of the implementation of this, within 1 or 2 years, the next entry level house would be 800,000.
Well, absolutely. If people do that, if banks, right? Banks would have to be very careful here. The government would have to be very careful about how they allow universal benefit income to count towards borrowing power. Like, that's not what you want. You want that person to stay in the lifestyle they are in. You don't want this $2,000 a month to become a lifestyle check.
Right.
Right? Like, use this to move up your lifestyle. No, improve everything else to move your lifestyle, to improve your lifestyle. But use this to service the lifestyle that you can afford based on the money you earn without it.
Okay. So you're saying, okay. Yeah.
Because if you use if you're living a $100,000 lifestyle and now you're earning $124,000 and you still maintain the $100,000 lifestyle, that $24,000 is going to really help you get ahead, build equity, save money for a rainy day. It insulates us against future economic problems. It does all these wonderful things. But if people start using the $2,000 or $4,000 a month to buy more house, I think it's a slippery slope.
And you're not helping those at the bottom necessarily get in easier.
I'm not sure that this is necessarily aimed at the bottom.
No?
I think there's a chance that this is aimed at creating long-term confidence and stability and security amongst constituents so that even when things get tough economically, people still feel they can ride it out. If the money's used properly, if people save it, right? If people build equity with it, they are insulating themselves against future economic challenges. Whether those challenges come as a result of political challenges like tariffs and this kind of thing that we're dealing with right now, this uncertainty that's been created because we don't know what the trade agreement's going to be, or sudden, impactful, negative circumstances for someone. So
Okay, you're seeing as a way to dampen volatility.
absolutely.
Okay.
So it could be positioned as a volatility damper for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I see that. Yep.
But the knee jerk is to think that $2,000 is just for the guy who makes no money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for I don't know how bit of a how deep of a rabbit hole dive you went on, but it's definitely the the minimum wage workers or the lower income workers or even middle class now. Like everyone's feeling squeezed. They're just like immediately thinking of the relief.
Yeah, I mean, here's a question. Do you make it available to everybody, or do you make it available only if you qualify by having a minimum wage job or better?
It becomes welfare at that point. And the success, I mean, I've yet to see a successful welfare program being implemented.
Welfare, you need a job to get welfare?
I mean, you can just apply for it, and instead of being targeted at those who make zero, it's targeted at those who make $15 an hour. So it's like, to me, welfare is like a chunk of money that someone qualifies for because they're kind of on the lowest rung of the economic ladder. So instead
But
of
the point being is you just have to be on the ladder. You have to do just enough to get on the ladder. You just have to at least be making the effort to work. Now, I know there's going to be inclusion issues here, right? Where there are some people that can't work, or there are some, you know what I mean? Like I know all of that is going to come into play. So I'm not dismissing that. That's fair. I just think you want to try to find a way, and I'm sure where this is where all these problems, all these programs or benefits, when they're experimented with, I gotta believe a lot of them fall apart here. It's just how do you give the program the best shot at success by incenting the right behaviors? Very difficult because there's so many different people out there who like to do different things with their money, who look at money differently and all the rest of it. But I think to be able to call the program a success, it has to make a positive impact on the economy as a whole.
Yeah.
Right. And so the question becomes, how do you do that? Not is a universal benefit like this a positive? It is. It's great. I mean, it's a great way for the government to give back. I mean, listen, it's funny. It's like packaged differently, but really, how different is this than just a $2,000 a month tax break? It's no different. It's just you just get to keep $2,000 more.
I mean, under this, you would not have to work. And then that becomes like you could literally,
True. So you don't need
3 or 4 roommates, right? You guys are like bringing in 8K. You don't have to work. Yeah, I think that's the difference. But to your example, if you only give it to the $15 an hour worker, and we've established that like 2K a month is the equivalent of about $15 an hour if after income taxes. Well, what happens to the guy who makes 30? Now the guy making 15 is making 30.
This is the problem. There's so many different cases out there. There's so many different, we could do this all night. But the question is, how do we create a program what are the key things you got to think about to safeguard the program or give it the best shot to be used properly by the most people? I mean, is it a matter of spending time figuring out who can get the money and who can't? Or do you just go, no, we're giving it to everybody. So that's our base point. So I think that's it. It's universal. We're giving it to everybody. So there are no qualifications. So if there are no qualifications, then are you just hoping for the best? Are you just hoping that people do the right things with the money? Because if they do, this could be very powerful. A win-win-win-win-win across the board for every level. If
And
enough people do the right things with the money.
the right thing you're saying is have the rainy day fund where if you have unforeseen circumstances or unforeseen incidents, then
Yeah, could you
don't-
use it as insulation?
Okay. So let's
Okay,
say you're
'cause that-
underwriting a file, right?
Yeah,
Say you're
yeah.
underwriting a file, and in this environment, you go, all right, John or Sue, what's that UBI check going towards? What's it been going towards the past 2 years?
Okay, first and foremost, it's difficult to do that. But in the underwriting chair, I think what you're getting at is you could say, we don't lend to anybody whose sole income is UBI.
Right.
Okay, so you give the UBI to everybody, but you don't allow it to help them qualify to borrow more.
That is a very good first rule. Because you see it all the time. You see what people do with extra money and how it could make them less disciplined or a bit more loosey goosey, and you've seen that behavior
Correct.
firsthand.
So now take your question. So now you come in and go, okay, you're the applicant, and you go, no, Chris, I have a job. I make minimum wage, right? And so I make, whatever it is, 20, 30,000 a year. Plus I get UBI, so I have another 24, so I have 54,000. Now, will you let me qualify? I would say, how long you've been getting UBI? And you'd say, what would you say?
Say we're 2 years in, I guess.
Okay, 2 years.
Which they wouldn't have bought a house during those 2 years, unless it was a family member helped them out with the down payment or something. But
Yeah. Nevertheless,
we'll just keep going with the example.
yeah, just play it out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the next question I would have would be, okay, how much of the $48,000 you've been given by the government in UBI have you saved for a rainy day? Show me the bank statements. Show me. And if you can show me that you've done the right things with it, I want to lend to you because you are the person that the program was intended to help. You're the flag bearer of the program, right? And that's
Interesting.
how we start to sort them, right? And go, okay, all right. Now, the next question, what's your credit score like? Let's see if the credit score matches with the person you're proposing to be, which is a person who does responsible things with their money. See, in private, we run into borrowers all the time who are victims of circumstance. They're not bad. They're not bad money managers. Something happened, was unexpected, or something happened that led to something else happening that kind of spiraled a bit, right? In a period of time. And you can see it. So you're this is no different. I'm trying to assess now. So we've got someone coming in who's now trying to use income like a universal benefit to qualify to borrow money. Okay. Well, there's conditions with that. Number one, you have to have an income outside of UBI. Number two, you must have a credit score that exceeds X. And if you don't have a credit score that exceeds X, we must be able to isolate a pocket of time through looking at the credit report that shows us the time things got ugly and that time has passed and there's enough track record of good credit management since that period of time. This is how you start to evaluate it. And maybe as I'm talking this out, I'm thinking to myself, maybe if the banks were on board to underwrite this way, and if privates were on board to underwrite this way, and it was a general rule, as you said, rule number one, you cannot use UBI income to qualify to borrow additional money unless you have another source of income, documented, provable. You can't be like, I have a business, it makes money, and I get UBI.
Right. Okay.
No, provable income. Your
This
NOA
is so this
plus
is so
the
interesting.
UBI.
Yeah. Because the sentiment in the I figured in the private, well, you don't represent the entire private lending space, but my immediate gut reaction was like, oh man, people are gonna be like, I can lend to everybody now.
There will be. That's the other end of the abuse. Right? I mean, listen, I'm a private lender. I represent a whole bunch of private lenders. If we start doing that, you get what you get. We got to be responsible. We have to think these things through. We are the ones who have the money. We get to make the rules, in a sense.
I guess the only way for it to be because essentially the government is backing your loan, and if you're able to put a lien on the UBI, it is
The government's not backing the loan at all.
well. I
'Cause the
mean, paying it
government-
out.
The government may be giving you the money, but the government has no say on what you do with it.
No, but I'm saying if you put like a, what do you call it when you put a lien or something on title on the property in order to guarantee that you get your funds out after liquidation? What is it? What is that term?
A lien.
Yeah. So you could put a lien on the UBI and say it gets to you before it gets to them. If they default.
So you're saying like we could, oh, that's interesting. Like you could pledge it.
Yeah.
In the agreement, you could pledge that your 2,000 UBI check goes right to, that'd be cool if the government was in on that and said that the government will do this. We'll actually send the check directly to a mortgage lender because that money's being used to build equity in a house.
Then you'll lend to everyone.
Then you lend. Yeah, well, then sure. I mean, you don't lend to everybody, but you, again, if that's the only source of income, no chance. But if there's another source of income, yeah, it's like a reserve. It plays no differently than an interest reserve, which is, for those who don't know, it's when we lend somebody, say, $100,000 and the interest rate is 10%. So they're going to pay $10,000 to us in interest, and we hold the 10,000 back as a reserve, and every month pay the investors with it. So basically the interest payments are guaranteed because the borrower only got 90,000 in pocket. In this case, you're saying the government is guaranteeing $2,000 a month towards this mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Now the question becomes, do you let someone borrow more? And so if they can afford $4,000 a month, but now they got two from the government, do they now qualify for a $6,000 a month payment? I would say no. So you qualify based on the income you have that's not UBI, but you can use the UBI to make the payments.
I see. You'll only see it as a safety, never as like an income source.
I mean, listen, we are throwing it out there right now. Like I haven't thought all this through, but it's starting to feel like that's the way we go. And this is the exercise you go through as a lender. You sit down and you think these things through and you go, okay, wait. If we do it this way, what behavior are we promoting? And if we do it this way, what behavior are we deterring? Right? So that's how you build an underwriting box.
Yeah.
What are we trying to promote? So I would love to use the UBI to make the payments. What I don't want is the UBI to help somebody more than they should. So whatever you qualify with your other income, we'll lend you that. And your application gets stronger if you're willing to pledge your UBI check. So it doesn't even come to you. It comes straight from and the government goes, yeah, we'll endorse that. We'll endorse that. So you send us this, you fill out this form and the payment goes directly to your lender. And it keeps the mortgage market. The defaults would be way lower.
So that covers the borrower side. On the investor side, are you suddenly like filled with glee and super happy and now all your investments are safe?
No. No, because I mean, I don't know. I have to think that through. For the right borrower, yes. If I've got the right borrower, I mean, if I'm investing in a private mortgage and a guy who qualifies for $100,000 based on the income he makes as a teacher has also pledged his UBI check every month and his wife's to pay the mortgage. Yeah.
Oh, and his wife's. Yeah. You could be
I,
like, hey, listen, I need
yeah,
two. I need two signatures.
I love it. But here's the other question. If I'm lending you a second mortgage, why isn't your UBI check going to the first mortgage? So there's got to be a certain circumstance where it makes sense, right? Something, right? Because I would rather the UBI check come to me and protect my loan, but I need you to pay the first mortgage if I'm in second, so it doesn't default and there's no problem that way. So you got to think about it from all the different angles. So as an investor, it can be an exciting benefit for sure because it injects capital into the market, and if there's capital in the market, that's a good thing if it's used for the most part the right way.
Think about every default headache you've ever encountered during all your years of doing this. And I mean, I'm not speaking from experience, but I would imagine just the smoothing over of all the headaches is just like all of a sudden it's right there.
With UBI?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'd like to think you're right. I just don't know until you see it actually working in the market and until you build out these underwriting windows and buckets that the application of it. And I mean, you're going to get it wrong at first. You're going to make mistakes, but if you continue to tighten it and work on it, putting a UBI out there for everybody, an extra 2,000 can't be a bad thing unless it's abused. And it's going to help people, right? In general. Everybody, whether you're living a $300,000 lifestyle or a $50,000 lifestyle, $2,000 a month is $2,000 a month. It's going to help you. The challenge, I think, what I'm thinking in my head now after having this chat with you is that if you want to distill it all the way down, it's just that if the money comes into the market, but it's applied in the market the wrong way too often, then I think you're creating like a false sense of security or insulation. You're almost creating a bubble.
Yeah, and we've talked on this show before, where every time the term hope comes up, when you're asking the borrower, what's the exit strategy, what's this, what's that, how are you?
Yeah.
And whenever it starts to feel like hope, that starts sending off alarm bells in your head. And if we're, we've said this multiple times now, we just hope it won't get abused. And I have a hard time seeing a scenario where it's just not abused, like en masse.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, in simple, it should just not improve your lifestyle. It should not. That's the key. Like, it should not be a difference maker in your lifestyle. It should be, if everybody could look at it as just a way to support the current lifestyle you're at, then I think the application could be amazing. But I agree with you. You know what? I don't know. I'd like to see stats on CERB first, because maybe it's not as many people as, like, maybe it helped more people than it hurt, or maybe it helped in a greater way than it hurt, or that it was abused. I don't know. I really don't know. But I do have the same sense that you do, that like social programs tend to get exploited for their loopholes or weaknesses. But my question is always, by how many? By what percentage? Like, you're going to have spillage in a restaurant, so a certain amount of beer is going to get spilled in a bar.
Yeah.
But is it how much? And
I think that the difference this time is that the abuse, since it's universal, the abuse becomes just that size of injection of just money supply into the system, chasing after goods and drastically increasing prices. That's
will-
my gut feeling.
I will say this. If you could figure it out, it would be awesome. I mean, it would be a real achievement if a government could figure out how to implement something like this and run it effectively. Because by injecting that kind of money, imagine if everybody got a $24,000 check back from the government when they filed their income taxes. It's no different. It's the exact same thing. Instead of giving $2,000 a month in this form, you're giving it in that form. If you filed your taxes every year, no matter what, you got $24,000 back. Tax refund.
That's only the equivalent if someone's paying 24 grand in taxes in income tax. So that excludes people that aren't working, which would be getting UBI.
No, but in this case, it would be you file your taxes, you file no income, and you get 24 grand. You get a check. Everybody gets a check at tax time for 24 grand. What would happen then? Now you open up a question like, is it better to give people a lump sum or give them 2,000 a month?
Yeah.
Do they use it differently?
Well, you said it's the equivalent of a tax refund, right? Which
Isn't
if you
it?
don't make, well, not if you don't make any money or if you make minimum wage.
No, but you're getting very literal. I'm just saying another application of this type of benefit would be that at tax time, whether you made a penny or you made nothing, you get a check for 24 grand after you file. Because people file zero, right? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 file. So as long as you file, you get 24 grand. It's no difference. It's the exact same thing. So how does that go over? What do people do? See, now you give people 24 grand all at once. That's significant. You got an opportunity to take that 24 grand and literally, like, if you're a homeowner, make a lump sum payment to your mortgage. Just hammer it. Every year, 24 grand, right? If you're a renter, you have the opportunity, if you want, to take 24,000 and go to your landlord and say, here's my next 7 months rent, whatever it is. Question is, do you do that or do you buy a big screen TV and a car?
I mean,
right? Like, do you take a vacation? What do you do with the money?
My money's on just spend it all.
I think a lot of people might, because we do live in a society of leverage.
Leverage, consumption, whatever.
But for those who do the right things with it, they can really get ahead. I mean, think about that. If you have like an average mortgage of $400,000 in 10 years, if you just dump the 24 grand every year, it's 240 of it. You'll have paid the whole thing off in under 10 years in mortgage. Now you're a player. You have a house. Maybe it's worth 600. You own it free and clear. So yeah, it can make a huge impact. Like, could really make a positive impact if the money's used properly.
Wealth inequality is a big sort of checkbox that people have while discussing this, saying it's going to solve that. Do you think it'll exacerbate or reduce wealth inequality?
Wealth inequality. I mean, yeah, it would probably increase it, because I would bet dollars to donuts that people who are already financially ahead would get further ahead with this, because they would probably do different things with it than someone who's struggling to meet their basic needs and who needs that money. And this is the other piece, right? Like, we have to consider is that there are people there that just need that money just to get by. And do we call that abuse? Can't call that abuse. It's not abuse. That's just part of what the benefit is intended for.
Yeah.
But would it widen the gap of wealth? I think it would, because the people who are just struggling to get by would just get by. The people who've already got the money would just be able to put away more.
And I think eventually, prices, cost of living, what have you, would catch up to the point where the 2K would not be enough for you to just get by at some point.
Well, that's the other piece, right? What does it do to inflation? And
Well, I guess we could roll that into part 2.
wow, that's there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah, but good
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah, curious to see what people were going to say in the comments, and maybe there's certain points we haven't addressed.
Absolutely.
All right, on to the next one. See ya.
Okay, see ya.